Welcome to No Longer Conformed. I'm Erik Garthe, and we are studying Christ's temptation, Satan's detour from God's plans. In this session, we'll be looking at Matthew chapter 4, verses 8 to 11, the desire for power. Let's read the verses 1 through 7 again before we get to our passage. Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, afterward he was hungry. Now when the tempter came to him, he said, "If you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread." But he answered and said, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him up into the city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "It is written again, you shall not tempt the Lord your God." Two of Satan's best temptations failed with Jesus. He had to change his strategy. No more cleverness, no more deception. The devil went straight to the bottom line and offered Jesus the best that he had, power, but at a huge price. Look at verses 8 and 9. Again, the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their glory. And he said to him, "All these things I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me." Raw power over all the kingdoms of the earth. Power to force people to acknowledge who he is. Power to force people to follow him as Lord. It was quite a prize to receive, a great temptation. The temptation to possess power appeals to us in three ways. First, this temptation is the opportunity to oversee others, ruling for the sake of ruling. The problem is this desire is never satisfied, climbing from position to position. It's always been a problem. Second, this temptation is the promise of an easy pathway to success. Painless gain with no cost. It cheapens people's motive for response. Jesus knew he faced suffering and death as a servant. Power would simplify his ministry, avoid pain, and be Lord over all people. Why not just be the earthly king and order the people to do what's right? What's wrong with that strategy? And then third, this temptation is the lure of having resources to do good, helping people without hindrance or opposition. Jesus wanted to save people from the power and consequence of sin and bring them to a right relationship with God. His compassion made Satan's offer appealing. We're not immune to the temptation of power for its own sake, self-protection, to do good in all areas of life, family, business, society, government, church. That was the offer. What about the price? Well, look again at verse 9. And he said to him, "All these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship me." Power carries a very high price. If Jesus accepted the offer, it would cost him dearly. He would have to reject God's chosen ministry plan for him through servanthood. Satan's unspoken argument was that God's way was untried. It was senseless and it will fail. Why embrace an unproven, painful method when an historically proven method exists? And he would have to turn from God to Satan and use his tools for the work. And Jesus would have to pay the devil's rental fee, asking for them on his knees before the owner. But you know what? Interestingly enough, Satan was offering Jesus what was already his. Look at Colossians chapter 1, verse 15 down to verse 17. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or power. All things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. It's all his already. He made it. It all belongs to him. Revelation chapter 11, verse 15. It all becomes official. And then the seventh angel sounded, and there were loud voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. There was the offer. There was the price. What was the response? Well, look at verses 10 and 11. And then Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. And then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. Jesus refused the devil's offer in no uncertain terms. Consider his refusal. He made the clear decision to worship God only. Don't miss the connection between power and the devil. To have one, you must worship the other. All contracts have obligations. Jesus read the fine print and he declined to sign the agreement. He chose God's way of ministry, servanthood. Rejecting earthly power, Jesus chose the cross. No earthly crown, no armies, no place to even lay his head, but he had God and the ministry God planned. You and I can resist the temptation of power. How? Just as Jesus demonstrated, you must choose to worship the Lord only, and you must choose to minister through servanthood. It's not easy in our own power, but with his grace. You think about all that as you seek to minister for the Lord. And you have a great day.